girlfriend. And then going back, finding a few others. Then the one that he most connected with was Anandamayi Ma in Benares, and he met one of her disciples who was a sannyasi named Svarupananda Swami, and he really wanted Bhakti Charu to join the ashram there, and he said, "But why? What will I gain spiritually by doing that?" And he said, "What have you gained?" He asked Svarupananda. And he said that he found his purpose in life and he was internally content. And um, and so he said, it happens by the mercy of the mother. So he said, I like the ashram, I like Svarupananda Swami, and I developed a deep appreciation of Anandamayi Ma. Finally, I decided to join. So he wanted to join the ashram. So one evening, Svarupananda Swami took me, he said, to see Anandamayi Ma in her room. When he raised the topic of my joining the ashram, however, she looked at me, smiled affectionately, and declared, "He is not meant for this ashram. He belongs somewhere else, and when he surrenders, the whole world will come under his feet." So he says, I was embarrassed by her statement, but also I was crushed that she rejected me. She wouldn't accept me as a disciple, and she wouldn't allow me and to live there in the ashram. And so, but then he decided that I had I have to move on. So that's when we know finally, and one very important thing that he had met devotees previously. He had gone to a program with one of his friends, and the devotee spoke so harshly, like criticizing all other groups, and he thought, wow, like we didn't even bring that up at all. We never spoke about anyone else. So he was turned off. But now now he's in Calcutta, and one of his old friends came to visit him, and this friend had totally become a brahmachari. He was now in his brahmachari clothing and shaved up, and he didn't really preach heavy at all. His name was Prasoon, and his German girlfriend, he heard they had joined ISKCON. So then he said, would you like to come to the program? And then he, just by meeting devotees, we see how very important it is. And for him, is my time up now? The time, like how much he appreciated devotees, and what a great important thing it was that they took the time to explain the philosophy to him, and then how much he really made so much sense to him, and he just very soon he just went. They had invited him to move in the ashram, and he went and got rid of his clothes and got a dhoti and kurta and shaved up, and they were like, whoa, so very fast. And it's a great point about, like, he just writes about his exchanges with so many devotees, and in particular Bhavananda. He was very much like protective of him, and took care of him, and he's the one that brought him to meet Prabhupada, and then how he got to go after the Kumbh Mela. He got to go on the train with Prabhupada, and how right away at the first meeting, Prabhupada told him, I want you to translate my books into Bengali, just like Prabhupada got an order to preach in the West. So you all have heard so much, and you all have personal experience of how very kind Maharaj was, and right from the beginning, how he appreciated devotees, and attended a Bhagavad Gita class, and then he asked at the end, can I buy a Bhagavad Gita? Imagine, they said, we don't have any here. All we have is the Nectar of Devotion. So he got the Nectar of Devotion, his first book, and went home and read it till late in the night. And then as soon as he woke up, he read it all day long. And just by reading that book, he knew this is it. This is what I'm looking for. So all glories to you, his disciples, who are so exemplary. And Hare Krishna. I don't want to take a lot of time. Are you ready, Pat?
Yeah. Thank you, Mother Kamalini, for
thank you for the opportunity. And here, are you ready? My husband always feels not ready, but I think he's ready. And remember, they're going to see you there, so look in the camera. What? Yeah. This to him.
Om Jana Tiranda Shagana Gana Salakaya Chakshani Tanjana Tasmai Shri Guru Namaha. Thank you so much for giving me this wonderful opportunity to share some of my realizations and experiences with His Divine Loving Grace, Bhakti Charu Swami. I first had the opportunity to meet Maharaj in 1983. I was coming to Mayapur along with another godbrother. We were actually a group of Sangha that was visiting and hearing from Sridhar Maharaj, Srila Prabhupada's godbrother. And we had gotten off the plane in Calcutta. We didn't have any facilities, but we had the contact information of your Guru Maharaj, and he so kindly took us in. The Calcutta temple was filled up, and he personally almost fed us, literally. He had a servant who was doing the cooking, but Maharaj, it was in the evening, and he brought us each and every preparation, served us, made sure that we had everything we wanted. And you could say, like, he almost tucked us into bed by giving us full facility. It was just a very small apartment. It was a BBT. He was in charge of the BBT there in Calcutta. And that's where he was translating Srila Prabhupada's books into Bengali. So we had that wonderful opportunity to experience his very kind and loving nature to take care of the devotees, to serve the Vaishnavas. And I will never forget his mood, because he knew that I had joined the movement earlier than him. He was always very extremely humble and always seeing me as a senior, but I could understand that he was a special associate of Srila Prabhupada, just like we were reading in the book, how Bhakti Charu Swami was with Srila Prabhupada for the last, especially taking personal service of Srila Prabhupada in the most difficult and probably the most intense service of being Srila Prabhupada's personal servant. And it's a very, very difficult position, but he was so expert in doing that because he was obviously an internal associate of Srila Prabhupada, and Srila Prabhupada trusted him so much. Even during the last few days of Srila Prabhupada's time on the planet, he was the one who served Srila Prabhupada his medicine, and he was the one that gave Prabhupada the last a cup of water at the point. Sip of water, yeah, before Srila Prabhupada left the planet. So in his book, we see how when Srila Prabhupada left the planet, and he was the main person that was taking care of Srila Prabhupada's body. And at the point of putting Srila Prabhupada into the samadhi, which was like 10 feet down into the ground, Bhakti Charu Swami went down with him and was holding Srila Prabhupada, and he was there from the point of them putting the sand in, and as they were putting the sand there, he wouldn't even move because he wanted to stay there with Srila Prabhupada. And we know how Tomal Krishna Maharaj had to pull him out of the pit to get him out. So in the same way, we know that Bhakti Charu Swami went directly back to Srila Prabhupada. Prabhupada had some special service for him. In the time that he was here in the Durham, he had a house in Durham, Radharaman Prabhu and Kalyan may remember. And I often would bring one person there who I was cultivating, who was a very strong follower of the Baha'i faith. And I would call Maharaj up and ask him, because this person was he was a professor, and he was also he was a counselor for young people. And he was very learned person. He knew so much. He actually graduated from Harvard with honors. And so I would bring him there on 3 or 4 different occasions. And each time Maharaj personally served him prasadam. He even cooked him pizza. And we got the opportunity to be there with him in the room of Bhakti Charu Swami. And he was so transcendentally uplifting and enlivening, this person who was transformed by his gentlemanly behavior, his wonderful demeanor, and everything he did was just so full of love and devotion. And this person, I know that his life was transformed by that association. But also in 2005, I spent a whole year in New York Temple because I couldn't find any kind of service or job here in North Carolina to help facilitate my family. So I was given a special opportunity to help open this Radha's restaurant. It was very difficult for me because I was away from my close family and friends here. But I remember there was in the middle of this endeavor, I was cooking for the restaurant. It was a very rigorous schedule, and I was working 8 to 10 hours a day. But I always would attend the morning program at the temple in Brooklyn. And there was one time, I think it was about 2 weeks, where there was an opportunity for Bhakti Charu Swami. He seemed like the most perfect person to take over the service of taking over the as a GBC, and also as a guru in the New York area. And
in the camera.
Yeah, I specifically remember very, very intensely how he was so very kind to me, and he would I would sit right in front of him during his Bhagavatam classes there in Brooklyn. He was there for only 2 or 3 days, and each and every time I would always ask him different questions, and it was so, I felt like I was in the spiritual world. He made the Bhagavatam become alive. Like you just knew that all these stories were true, the way he was speaking them. It was like he was living the Bhagavatam, and he knew the different characters, and he knew every aspect of how the Bhagavatam went. And then also, so the next 2 days that he was in New York, he was giving Bhagavatam class at the Bhakti Center. So I made a special arrangement where I could be freed up to go to his classes there. And it was also just so wonderful to be in his presence and to hear him speak the Bhagavatam. It was like I felt really completely connected with the Bhagavatam, and when he spoke, my mind and senses and my whole being became like spiritualized. I felt I was in a transcendental bubble, and I really remember those classes, and all of the classes that he ever gave were always very transformational in my life. He was always also very kind to me and loving, and he would always invite me to prasadam whenever he would make sure that my wife and I could come. And I remember specifically one time we had prasadam at Krishnadas's house, and he had me sit right next to him, and I felt really like I felt low class. I felt like I shouldn't be right so close to him here because he's so pure, but he made me feel so much at home and felt like everything that I wanted, he made it happen. Like the prasadam, he was so concerned about whether we were satisfied, like more than himself. And at that time, I made a special request, which he very graciously accepted, because I thought he was one of the most the best persons to be to write the preface for this cookbook that I'm working on. And just because he also was very, very much into prasadam, and he loved to serve the Vaishnavas prasadam, and he knew exactly how to take prasadam and the specific order of how to eat it. And his whole demeanor was about satisfying others and making you feel completely acknowledged and at home and loved and appreciated. I specifically remember when the last few times he came here, he would be staying at someone's house, and yeah, Krishnadas's house. And then when he would give Bhagavatam class, he would come maybe 10 or 15 minutes before the class. He would always arrive maybe at Tulsi Puja or before. And every time, when the first time he would come, he would give me a big hug. And I remember even one time we were together chanting around Tulsi, and somehow or other our hands came together, and we together walked around Tulsi and were dancing. And I'll never forget his enthusiasm and his way of appreciating me, even though I was such a rascal in so many ways. But somehow or other he was very, very kind to me, and I feel so blessed to have some of his association. And I know that he went directly back to the spiritual world with Prabhupada. And I wanted to also let the devotees know that there's a wonderful post that's in the ISKCON Vrindavan. You go to Bhakti Charu Swami Memorial, and it's 4 hours. There's some wonderful shares that were given by the God brothers there.
And God sisters.
And what?
God sisters.
Oh yeah, God sisters, sure. Yeah. And some really amazing points. But I'm just wondering if all the devotees know, do you all know that this devotee Pran Govinda, who is Bhakti Charu Swami's nephew, he was with him for the whole time when he left his body.
Is that true?
Did you know that?
I don't know if it's true.
It is true. Yeah. There was the last few hours that he was there. And anyway, it was explained that when you're on the respirator, although you cannot speak, you can hear. You can hear everything. And he was hearing, Pran Govinda was doing the Gayatri prayers and the Brahma Samhita. He was singing it to him at the moment of his passing. And I know that he's there with us in his instructions, in his Vani and his Vapu, and also in his hearing. And every day I've been listening to his lectures that come out of Vrindavan. And you saw the, yeah, I mean, Mayapur. There was also a wonderful class that was given in Chowpatty, Mumbai, which it was just amazing how he explained the whole process of the living entity coming into the material world and how we can become free through the process of devotional service and through the mercy of Srila Prabhupada. And in all of his lectures, you can see how he gives all credit to Srila Prabhupada, and his love for Prabhupada was unparalleled on this planet. I have never seen anyone who was so attached to Prabhupada and attached to the emphasis that Prabhupada gave of his major instruction was that you please cooperate together and to let this movement go on. And your love will be shown to me by how you cooperate together. And Bhakti Charu Swami was, I would say, the most prominent leader in our movement who emphasized this cooperation. And he has so much of Srila Prabhupada's mood. You can see that he was definitely an eternal associate of Srila Prabhupada. So thank you so much for allowing me to share. And please take shelter of some of these wonderful classes that he's given. It's so amazing how wonderful his classes are. Thank you so much. Hare Krishna. All glories to Srila Bhakti Charu Swami Ki Jai. Haribo.
Thank you so much, His Grace Apurva Prabhu and Her Grace Mother Company, for sharing your realizations. Mother Company, thank you so much for taking us through the journey of Ocean of Mercy. And it's so nice to again hear the wonderful pastimes from Ocean of Mercy. And thank you so much, Apurva Prabhu, for sharing your realizations. Actually, yesterday we were watching, like I was seeing some photos that Ranna Radhika had from year 2001 when Guru Maharaj was here. And even at that time, I saw like how His Holiness Bhakti Charu Swami Maharaj, His Holiness Indradana Swami Maharaj, and then you and Mataji, you all were there, and there was like this big Harinam Sankirtan on Chapel Hill on the Franklin Street, and I was seeing those photos, and I was like just thinking that how Guru Maharaj was like so intimately connected with this temple, and there were some photos of Maharaj having prasadam in that pavilion, on the picnic benches with Krishna Goswami Maharaj.
Can't hear you.
Yeah, it was very nice to see you there, and just appreciating how much you had so close association with Maharaj, and we are very grateful that you both actually came up to share your realizations. So thank you to both of you.
Oh, thank you.
Can I just say one last thing?
Yes, Prabhu.
There's a wonderful post of Deva Madhava. It's Bhakti Charu Swami going on the Harinam in the most austere weather. It was last 2019. And even in the midst of so much, it was very difficult for them because it was right in a very difficult spot in the subway where there was lots of, and he came all the way out there, and it's so enlivened the devotees.
Because it was a very rainy day. When it's rainy or snowing or too cold, they do Harinam in the subway. It's very loud. And he didn't announce that he was coming or anything. He just showed up. And Deva Madhava said he really taught us that, you're never too big to come and do Harinam, And anyway, they were just so happy. He just came without any notice or anything. He stayed rather long time.
And he played the harmonium enchanted.
Okay.
Yes.
Thank you so much, Prabhuji and Mataji, for bringing those kind memories. Thank you so much. And thank you, Apurva Prabhu, for pointing out that how we have to go deep and take shelter of the classes that His Holiness Bhakti Charu Swami Maharaj has given. Thank you very much for pointing out to also the memories of Vrindavan. And I personally have not heard those, and I would certainly hear it during this week. So thank you for pointing that out also.
Okay, we want to hear from all of you now.
Thank you, Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
So next we'll ask Kalyankrit Prabhu, like he just messaged me. I had asked him to go next, but he said he has something, he just got caught up with something, but he'll come a little bit later. Maybe we can ask Shamla Kishore. Would you like to go next?
Sure. Hare Krishna, everybody. New Goloka devotees, please accept my humble obeisances. I feel really grateful to be part of this Sangha. And last week also, I was really relishing hearing all of your memories with Maharaj. And I also had so many memories flooding in with his time at New Goloka. So I wanted to share some impressions that have been filling my consciousness of Maharaj. Like it's funny how the small things become so important. Like the little memories, the sweet little moments have such sweetness to them. And so I just wanted to share a few of those to start, and then I'll share a couple of short little stories. So the way that Maharaj walks very briskly, my sister and I, when we were young, we would be in the temple like for japa, and then Guru Puja would start, and then we would see the door swing open, and like a sea of orange, Maharaj surrounded by all his disciples, and he would walk in with his arm up with his chadar hanging, and like a very brisk, beautiful walk, very elegant, and he would walk in with such a beautiful smile, and our hearts would just we would just like feel so excited. Your heart kind of just stops, like, oh my goodness, he's here. And so that memory is there. And the way that he looks at all the devotees, and specifically when Mother Krishna Priya was president, I remember so many times when he would be talking to her and asking her questions, and then so lovingly looking at her and asking her advice. And so such a sweet relationship, the way that he was engaging with Mother Krishna Priya. And the way that he says, how are you? And he puts the emphasis on you, like he stands before a devotee, and that devotee, I remember when Maharaj would ask me, "How are you?" I would feel like everything around just kind of disappears, and time stops, and you just feel like he's completely there, present for you, and so caring. The way that he likes to eat artichokes, and he would take the leaves and then very delicately like eat the ends of the leaves, and like everything he does is so delicate and so gentle and beautiful to watch. And the way that he is so concerned with devotees' issues. I remember so many times seeing him listening to some devotees complaining about a problem or expressing a doubt or concern or some issue with management in the temple in different places when we traveled with him. And he would lean in, like he's very, very attentive in those moments, leaning in close to that devotee, and like really, you could see on his face the concern and his care for that. He was always very troubled by when there were any kind of problems in ISKCON and the temples. He always wanted to solve all the devotees' problems, take care of them, make everybody get along well. Then memory flashed in my mind of him watching Srimati play the piano at Krishnadas Prabhu's house, and how encouraging he was with that. Like I remember one program he had her play at the end of the program, or at the beginning, somewhere like that, for all the devotees. Another memory, at the time when he was spending a lot of time in North Carolina, my name was Chintamani at the time. So he would say, Haribol Chintamani, and then start singing Chintamani Prakadashad Masukalpa Vriksha. And one time he sang the whole verse, and then he like laughed after, and just those little moments that they mean so much to the heart, they really touch deeply. And then him being at Hrishikesh Prabhu's house when he stayed there, Purna was quite young, and she had a coloring book with Krishna pictures, and the pages all had little poems and describing Krishna's glories. So Maharaj started flipping through the coloring book, like looking at it with Purna and asking her to read out the poems. And then he said, okay, let's make tunes, let's make melodies for these little English poems. And so Maharaj started making his own melodies, and they just flowed out so quickly. And he asked us, and we kind of like, we were, we didn't have, words didn't come out. We were like trying to think of a melody, and he kind of laughed, and then he just went back to like making these beautiful melodies that just flowed out of him. And a memory of how Maharaj would, several times actually, when he would give classes, especially the Sunday feast class, he would tell the story, at least twice or three times he did this in North Carolina, the story about where Krishna teased the gopis of Vrindavan, the older gopis. He would steal their butter, and he would describe the whole pastime, how Krishna would steal the gopis' butter, and then Mother Yashoda, and they would complain to Mother Yashoda. And then one time, one of the older gopis caught Krishna and put Krishna on her back and started going to take him to show Mother Yashoda. And then when she arrived, the gopi arrived, she said, "See, I caught your son red-handed." And Mother Yashoda started laughing, saying, "That's not Krishna, that's your own son." And so the gopi looked back and realized it was her own son on her shoulders. And so she felt embarrassed to walk home. And then as soon as she was walking home, Krishna again turned into Krishna. This is one of the pastimes that Goswamis tell. And then Krishna says, "Next time, don't do this again, because next time I'll turn into your husband." And Maharaj would be laughing and laughing, and he loved telling that story. And I can see so clearly his shoulders like shaking with laughter, and his beautiful smile, and the whole temple was just, our hearts were touched so much, and it's just so beautiful. And then another memory came to mind of a different mood that he had also a very the mood of a lion, like angry mood when somebody would blaspheme Prabhupada or ISKCON. And we saw this one time in a Sunday feast class. I don't remember which year this was, but there was an Indian gentleman in the audience who I don't even really remember which doubt. He started saying something that was kind of blasphemous of Prabhupada. And Maharaj became like, he sat up straight and he became like really this powerful force, like defending Prabhupada and ISKCON. And I remember, because I was young and I was just amazed at how powerful, how strong he was also, like his devotion for Prabhupada and how he defended him. And many times after Maharaj would give a seminar, he would say, okay, any more questions? Okay, no more questions. So should we do a little kirtan? And all the others go, Haribol, like, and he would, the way he would do that, like smiling and just that little question that I hear his voice saying it, you know, like, should we do a little kirtan now? And then we would all, and then he would take his harmonium and then it would become more and more ecstatic and so sweet in front of Radha Golokananda. So a few more things. One thing that happened when I was in Europe, when I was with Ratna Radhika in Europe, Maharaj had been so merciful to invite us to travel with him. And one time we were in Italy, and I had my camera. I was really interested in capturing pictures of everything. You know, I was in that kind of mood. I was, you know, a teenager, like wanting to capture all the moments and not really being in the moment, but like with my camera, trying to catch all the moments. So there was one incident where we were in the Italy temple. We had just arrived and Maharaj said, okay, who here is happy to be here? Who here is happy to be here right now? If you're happy, raise both arms and say Haribol. And so I thought, you know, this is a good moment to take a picture of Maharaj raising his arms saying Haribol. So I took, so instead of raising my own arms, everybody else went Haribol, and I took out my camera and I clicked a picture of Maharaj doing that. And so then I still remember this moment so clearly. There was like a silence, like after that. And he looked at me and he said, so you're not happy to be here? And, and of course my heart like was stunned. And I said, oh no, sorry. Yes, of course. And he said, okay. And he was joking. He was very loving, but he was also chastising me, like about not being present in that moment, you know, like not about being absorbed with my camera and not really showing being present with all the devotees. So he said, okay, now you raise your hands and say Haribol, and we're all going to take a picture of you. And then he laughed, and it was so sweet. And at the moment, of course, I was like I felt so much shame and I felt so bad. But later on, I was thinking, I felt so grateful because the fact that he would chastise me meant that he was treating me like, you know, like so lovingly, and he really cared about my spiritual life. So, and then one time in Radhadesh, he was always very concerned about his godbrothers, making sure that they also had garlands and seating arrangements. So there was a morning class in the temple in Radhadesh, and there was only that little platform to sit on. So he actually invited Prahladhananda Swami to give a joint class, and they both crammed onto the small little Vyasasana, like the one in North Carolina, a small platform. They're both like squished together, and he was so loving and like made sure he had a garland, and they both gave the class together. So he was always so loving that way with his god brothers and god sisters. And then I'll just share two more things, and then so one thing is a devotee had asked him, or devotee told him that she wanted to do some service, but she wasn't sure how the money would come. Like she didn't know, she couldn't do it because there wasn't really money for it. So Maharaj replied, do you think Krishna is a pauper? And he was saying that if you want to serve Krishna, if you have the desire, he will provide you and all finances. Don't think that Krishna is a poor person that, you know, that can't provide unlimited wealth for any service you want to do. And then finally, I wanted to say that I've mentioned this in other discussions and in Florida too, that Maharaj I'm just eternally grateful for his mood of creating a family under Srila Prabhupada. So there was one time where I was really struggling with trying to choose a Diksha guru. I love Bhakti Charu Swami Maharaj and Indradumna Swami Maharaj both equally, and I had so much attachment for both of them, and I was really, I don't know, somehow my heart was torn with having to choose, and so I spoke with both of them, and I spoke with Maharaj, Bhakti Charu Maharaj, and he was so loving. His mood is always that we're all a family under Prabhupada, so don't worry so much. Like, and he said to me, don't worry, it's a matter of relationship and of gratitude of the heart. And all of these formalities are not so important. We're all one family. I'm reading the words. He said, my relationship with you will not change no matter who you choose for initiation. And it was so comforting to me. So, so deeply touching, actually. And I noticed after that, after I did get initiation, and Maharaj's mood never changed with me. He was always so loving. And so I'm just eternally grateful for him bringing everyone together under Srila Prabhupada and creating that family mood. And yeah, so this is, I'm very grateful I could share a few memories. So thank you for having me.
Thank you so much, Shyama Kishori, for sharing your memories. And next we can ask Ratna Radhika.
Nama Om Shri Padaya Krishna Prasthaya Bhutale Srimati Bhakti Charu Swami Namane Shnigda Cheta Supraneta Vagminam Charasa Bhutam Prabhu Paragata Prana Namu Bhakti Charu Nama Om Shri Padaya Krishna Prasthaya Bhutale Srimati Bhakti Vedanta Swami Namane Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pacharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Pashyatya Deshatharine. So just like the book Ocean of Mercy, I feel like Guru Maharaj is an ocean of mercy, and it's hard to know how to explain an ocean in a few words. So I was just going to take a few drops of the ocean and try to share some of that. So Guru Maharaj has been very, very, very kind to me and to all of us. He came into my life when I was a teenager, in a time where I really needed it. Actually, I needed more focus on my spiritual life. I needed more insight and more connection with Krishna. And he opened up a door in my spiritual life where all of a sudden I could see things in a different way. All of a sudden Krishna consciousness had meaning for me. It became so practical and also so sweet. I was reading my diary from 2001. I was around 16, 17 years old. And I wrote there that he's opening up this world that I never realized before in Krishna consciousness. And I felt so grateful. I said, like, oh, when he would lead bhajans in the Nugaloka temple, I felt that I was in the spiritual world, that the whole environment changed. I was so feeling so much connection in Krishna consciousness. So a few of his qualities that I would like to bring out that really meant a lot to me. One was his concern and how personal he was and how concerned he was for everybody who contacted with. And like Shyama Kishori said, he would when he would stand in front of you and ask, how are you doing? It wasn't like how in America, how we say, how are you? And just like, we don't really care about the answer. You felt like he would give you the whole day if you needed it. He would just stand there and just really wanted to know how you really were doing. And if you had a problem, like Shyama Kishori said, that he would really see how he could help. It wasn't just, he would practically see how he could maybe make a phone call to somebody, or maybe suggest that he introduce us to somebody so that it would help us. He was so practical in helping the devotees. So when I graduated from my bachelor's degree, I wasn't quite sure what to do. And he was so kind. He invited me to come to Ujjain to serve on a secretary team. And I was practically like jumping. I was so extremely grateful and also completely overwhelmed because I didn't feel qualified for that at all. And I was thinking, how come he chose me? I'm just like, I don't have any of these qualifications. And he was so merciful. It just goes to show how he would go out of his way to make sure devotees had some engagement and try to engage them in some service. So while doing the service for him in Ujjain, I experienced a lot how his mercy and his sweetness and his humility and appreciation. So, for example, one of the services I did was typing up the letters. He would dictate the letters to me and I would type them up and then show it to him, and he would draft, he would look at it and make corrections. And then sometimes while he was dictating, he would ask me, what do you think? Is this a good word? Is this the right way to say it? Can you think of another? And he would ask my opinion. I felt always so overwhelmed that why would he ask me? But he was in that way showing his humility and also trying to make us feel like valued. And it was very touching. I also noticed that when he was answering letters, he would be almost like he was there with the person that he was addressing the letter to. I remember so clearly, whether it was on the phone that he was dictating to me or in person, that he would practically not be there. He would be with that person that he's talking to and just completely absorbed. And that's Guru Maharaj's mood. When whatever he was doing, he would do it to his, with his full attention and give his full love and make it the best quality offering, So that was always very touching to me. Some of the sweetness, one of the things that always endeared all of us was Guru Maharaj's sweetness, how he would melt our hearts by the little things that he would just, when we were in Ujjain, he would walk around the property and just observe. He would walk into the kitchen and see how they're preparing things. He would walk into our secretary office and just look around and say, and just observe how we pick the furniture and ask what we were doing. Or he would walk in while we're eating prasadam and just say, so how is the prasadam? So, such a elevated devotee, but doing the most menial kind of things, just walking around, looking at the garden, just observing everything, making sure everything was a quality offering to Srila Prabhupada also. So one time in Ujjain, he asked me how the prasadam was, if it was too spicy for me. And from experience, I learned not to lie because I had that experience in Europe. One time he asked me, how was the accommodations? And I said, it's okay. And he said, from your words, I'm not getting a clear picture. And I could tell he was not happy when I wasn't straightforward and not, he didn't. So I did tell him, Guru Maharaj, sometimes it's a little spicy for me, and but it's okay. I was, it's okay for me. I'm okay. But he arranged that a cook would make an extra boiled vegetable for me, which is this incredible, and it shows his incredible kindness. I'm just one person out of so many people in Ujjain, and he made that arrangement. So that was very, very touching. And one time I was in his room in Ujjain, and I was doing some service for him. And by mistake, he had a bell on his desk that he would call his servant in. And by mistake, it fell off the desk and it rang. It rang. And then the servant ran into the room and, yes, Guru Maharaj. And instead of saying, oh, it was a mistake, he just kind of smiled and said, he was like thinking about what he could ask the servant to do. He said, bring a sweet for Radhika. So I was like so shocked, and the servant ran and got a rasgulla, and then I was and he put it in my hand, and Guru Maharaj said, eat it. So I had to eat in front of him. It was so embarrassing, but also so sweet. He's so so loving. And sometimes he would make jokes, like, for example, at one point he was thinking of, Guru Maharaj was super innovative. He would come up with these amazing projects and plans, as we know, that to help, and it was all for the purpose of helping devotees so that they could be well situated again in their Krishna consciousness. So for example, that bar business that he started was all for the purpose of creating an income within ISKCON so that devotees didn't have to work outside, that they could work within ISKCON and get their income. Or he would come up with other ideas too. He was so innovative, and nothing was too big of an idea for him. He was willing to tackle any project for Srila Prabhupada. So one idea he had when he was in Ujjain was to have a furniture business where it was, I think it was going to be furniture produced in India that he would sell in America. And it's like a devotee business, furniture business. And me and Archana, he was talking to me and Archana and like kind of wanting us to be a sales, kind of sell the product. And so he was saying, he was making a joke, we'll call it the Ratna Archana furniture business. And we were, so this is just a little thing, how he would be so serious, but then he could also be so light at the same time and make jokes and make it so fun that it endeared our hearts to him, that we were ready to do anything for him, from, you know, the way he endeared our hearts to him like that. I remember when he also made Krishna consciousness a lot of fun. And especially when we were younger, you know, when you're young, you look for fun. And he would do that. When we would travel, he would say, let's have a picnic. As you all know, he loved picnics. So he would, you know, have a picnic or a pizza party. And he used to have a house in Durham. And he had a lot of his Bengali, he called them the Bengali boys that would serve him. And they were expert at making pizza, and because Guru Maharaj learned how to make it the proper Italian way, and so he taught his disciples, and they could make pizza better than anybody, even better than an Italian could make. It was so delicious. So he would call devotees for a pizza party, and he would personally, well, he would have the pizza served, and he would not necessarily eat himself. He was just supervising the serving of the devotees of the pizza. And then he said, okay, now, and then he would look at our plates would get empty, go, give some more to Ratna Radhika, give some more to, of course, my name was different then, but give more to Chintamani. And like, he would like, and then if we didn't take more, he would say, what's wrong? How come you're not eating? And then afterwards he said, okay, now we'll have ice cream. And we were already so full from the pizza. And he said, no, ice cream you need ice cream to digest the pizza. It's very important you have ice cream because it helps you digest the pizza. So in this way, he would just completely make Krishna consciousness so lively, so fun. And when it was somebody's birthday, he would arrange that a cake would be made for the person, and he would even sometimes give a gift. I remember it was somebody's, actually, he would arrange like, what kind of gift can I give? And he would give really nice gifts. Like one time it was somebody's birthday in Ujjain, and he gave really beautiful pearl, like actual pearl necklace. Like he really would not just give any gift, but he would really give like a really quality, wonderful gifts to the devotees. I'll just say one more thing, and then I'll end here. It's very nourishing to speak about Guru Maharaj, and we're all feeling a vacuum in our heart from him leaving us. But we're feeling also that his presence is here even more than ever before, and from thinking about him so much. And these memories are helping to kind of ease the pain that we feel in our hearts. So I just hope that I can just keep reliving and going into not only reliving these memories, but go forward and serve Guru Maharaj in his mission. And we know he loved to, like Shamla Kishore said, that all of us should be one family centered around Srila Prabhupada. And so I pray that I can please Guru Maharaj by serving Srila Prabhupada's mission and please him in this way. So one more little quick incident. When we were traveling in Europe, me and my sister with him, we went to Switzerland, and we went up into the Swiss Alps. And he would actually, when we were traveling, he would sometimes ask me and my sister, have you been here before? Have you seen he would say like famous local places in the place we were in. And we hadn't seen those tourist places. And he would arrange sometimes for sightseeing trips just for us so that we could see some of the places. He was so kind in that way, even though we didn't need that, but he felt like, no, you are here, you should see some of these places. So when we were traveling in the Swiss Alps, he said, let's stop here. It was a beautiful location with with the snow-capped mountains, and there was a lake, pure freshwater lake. And he said, this is a beautiful place for taking a photo, and then you can send it to your parents. Both of us were quite young, and not that young, but like in our early 20s. And so he was concerned that our parents should also see some of the pictures of our trip. So he said, let's take a photo here. And then, so somebody was taking a photo, and he said, no, they should stand here, so a nicer background. And he was actually orchestrating so that the background was really, really nice for the photo. And yeah, and there's more to it, but I'll just end here by just, first of all, thank you to all of you for being here and creating this family and sharing these wonderful memories with Guru Maharaj that help us to keep him and his instructions deep into our heart. And I pray also to all of you that I can enter more and more dig deep into his instructions now and develop that new phase of our relationship. Now we don't have the Bapu anymore. So we feel like orphans in a lot of ways, but in another way, I pray that we can now enter the new phase of our relationship, which is based on his instructions, and that we can feel his presence more than ever through following his instructions. Thank you so much. Hare Krishna.